Even the Eminem song, he sounded very comfortable on that. What did you think about that song in Eminem's verse?
It's all right.
It is all right, and you know what? I think the first half is all right,
It's all right.
and then he jumped into that
Into
predictable
what you don't
thing
like,
where he
right?
just starts rapping fast and stuff. Like
So
I was
what?
listening to it, and I was like, okay, there's no bad bars here. It's nothing this, you're like, okay, this is incredible. But it's like, okay, he's flowing with it and it's cool. And then he started that, like,
Right.
I think he's okay until he does that. But it's like, man. And we're going to talk about LL Cool J later because LL's celebrating a birthday. Happy birthday to LL and Slick Rick. But
Birthday to
it
the king.
reminds me of like what cannabis used to do, where it's like every feature you have to get in a 24 bar verse. We don't need to, you don't have to do that every single time. Can we get a 16? Are people paying Eminem for 24s or something, or he just can't do a 16 and get it
You
all
want,
in?
you want to stop for a second for me because I got a little quick point to make about that because you're making a valid point. Now you know we're supposed to be doing this Jay-Z versus battle still.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that's coming up.
yeah, that's still coming up. So you know I sent you my list, Mike. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know if you noticed, I sent you that Nas list. You know how
Mm-hmm.
some of that stuff says two verses on there and how I was able to fit stuff and match stuff up?
Mm-hmm.
That's because Nas is a classic 16 bar rap artist, as in he can give you a stellar classic verse in 16 bars. Let me break this down for people. Depending on how you are with your cadence and your rhyme style, a 16 bar verse really shouldn't take less than 30 seconds, but it
Yep.
really shouldn't take more than a minute, 5 to 15 seconds. Almost all of Nas's 16 bar verses, especially early on in his career, like first 3, 4, 5 albums, Mike, all the verses are 45 seconds to a minute. All of them.
I also want to highlight some other people as well. Speaking of Nas, like AZ's appearance on Life's a Bitch is short, sweet, and it's
Brilliant.
brilliant. It's
Brilliant.
brilliant. Like it, he didn't
Mike,
have to go for no 24. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. I don't know why Eminem's doing this. And
no,
again, I know people think that
I'm
I'm just
sorry.
ragging on M or
No, no,
anything like
Mike,
that, but
no, Mike, you're not because that's why I brought up Nas because he gets brought up in that same lyrical weight class. I'm like, nah, man. Verbal intercourse is 45 seconds. Eye for an eye is 45 seconds. Live at the barbecue is like 53 seconds. You get what I'm saying?
M didn't used to do this though. It feels like he's doing this now because he feels like he has something to prove or something. You know what I
Mike,
mean?
Mike,
And
Jay is like Nas is with the 16 too. Most of Jay's 16, like Mike, go listen to Dead Presidents. Them verses is all about 55 seconds long.
or
It's not
even
long.
even when
It's
Jay
just
was on like his
doing too much.
strongest feature run, he never would go and do like 24 bar verse. He
Mike,
hit you
one
with
minute
that.
man. I'm pretty certain 1 minute man was like a 12 bar verse. He didn't even give
Yeah,
us
he ain't even
16.
finished. Yeah,
He didn't
and
even give
he'll
us
come in there
16.
like Carolina Blue Kicks, hottest nigga on the block. Used to really bicycle since I was 6. Like he just come in there real quick, kill it, and
That's
be
two
out.
bars. That's two bars that sound like four.
High school crossover, wave to wave picks. Music is the same shit. Gave away hits, but my get it together or get it forever. When get it through hard, I can get it through leather. Man, come on, you act like Jigga
Oh,
can't get
dude.
with whoever. Talking, you got a man. Okay, my
Okay,
and
my
like
man.
I don't need 24, or I
Right?
don't
You
need
don't
you to
need
get
24 to get
into
your point across. Mike,
yeah.
the only time when 16 ain't enough is when Rick Ross and Andre 3000 said so on God Forgives and I Don't. That's the
But
only
that
time
was the theme of the song.
added 16
TD
in.
says, why do they keep going to M for features? That's a good question because it kind of reminds me of what I'm saying about this Stevie Wonder thing. It might not even be people going to M for features. They
Yes, it
might be
is.
saying, "Look, M wants to feature on your shit." What are you gonna say? No.
First of all, you can't say no. You can't say no. It's a poor career decision.
No, you
Second of
can't
all,
say no.
no, I want to bring up something that Jada Kiss said a long, long time ago. I've been had a white fan base before the signing of Marshall. This is about fan base moves too when you put M on the record because, like I've been telling
That's what
everybody,
Renegade was about.
Oh, he brings in a spear, Mike. That's why he's produced the track on Godson that he had no business producing. Because just saying that Eminem produced the track for Nas brings a certain clientele into the fold that may not be in the fold.
Of course.
He brings people who are not into the fold into the fold. Mike, you want to know who I thought about when I heard
it's a
him
numbers game, man.
No. I thought about this really because I brought up how Cordae is dating Naomi Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a tennis and golf fan too. I thought about like Eminem be bringing white people to hip hop the way Tiger Woods done brought black people to golf.
Well, there's our analogy for the day. It's the truth, though.
On that too.
And the thing, no, you're right. It's like, and a lot of white listeners are hip hop listeners anyway. But I think Eminem, he brings a fan base that doesn't normally listen to rap. Period. And if you're associated with Eminem, they're gonna give it a shot. I mean, we even see like, the people that were associated with M on Shady Records, they all did numbers. I ain't even gonna talk about 50, but even this is how big M's numbers are and were in their prime, especially. Like 50 went out there and steamrolled the game crazy off the Eminem momentum. And not only that, but Lloyd Banks and Young Buck were going gold in a week. Like, these guys were doing numbers, and all of this was reciprocated off of this Eminem steam.
I mean, no, okay, so let's go back to that. When you're saying that, okay, so that's, and I get what you're saying, but who's behind that? Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine are behind even Eminem on that. So it's heavyweight. That's not M. That's Dre and Iovine.
Well, look, it's all of those things combined. It's all of listen, the machine over there in Interscope is, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. How about this? What M and 50 was what Iovine and Dre really intended before Suge had really, you know what I'm saying? So this time around, they got to run the machine the way they wanted to run the machine with M and 50, and they ran it.
Oh yeah,
and ran the subsequent artists because hey, Mike, the documentary don't go like 3-4 platinum like without like Dre, 50, M, like the whole cosign down the line.
M is a big piece in all that.
No, he's a piece in all that. He's on the documentary. His verse on the documentary is dope. He killed Game on that verse.
His part,
that guy, the guy that's rapping on the documentary. That's the guy that I want to hear. The guy that's rapping on Patiently Waiting and Don't Push Me on Get Rich or Die Trying. That guy's great, Mike. That guy great.
I want to get to some of these comments too because I do have a lot to say about that part of it. I don't want to get too far off of Cordae's project, but I will say this. I think that there should be a class on marketing ran off of the whole Interscope system. Like, they are the best marketers I've ever seen in music, period. Like, the way that even all the way down to when the Straight Outta Compton movie came out and they had those Straight Outta whatever memes going everywhere and where you would be able to personalize your own stuff. Look at the success of Dre Beats. Like, the marketing over there at Interscope, those guys, when they're all in, they win, period.
Hey, Mike,
they don't miss.
Mike, and I don't know this for a fact, but I were to bet that if you were to pull up the 50 biggest selling hip hop albums of all time, I would venture to say that somewhere between 25 to 40% of them come out of the Interscope campus in a shape, form, or fashion.
I definitely know if we talking about top 20, at least half of them. Yeah. No.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because think about M's projects, 50 projects, Dre projects, Snoop's projects, Game's projects.
Tupac.
I don't even, that's not even.
But it is.
I don't even attach.
But he is. But he is.
But that was Pac though, but I get what you're saying.
But he is. He didn't start moving them units like that until that machine got behind him.
Me Against the World went like triple platinum.
But that's what I'm saying. It didn't do what All Eyes on Me did.
Strictly for My Niggas was a multi-platinum album. That's what I'm saying. Pac was a platinum rapper.
No, he was. But
But
he was always with Interscope. When that Dre thing came, that was a needle in the arm.
That's what I mean. When you bring up M, it's like, well, Dre really wanted to move everybody's needle because Pac shit even went from 2-3 mil to like 5-6 mil.
Exactly. Nubian DNA says Dr. Dre made Slim Shady. Listen, I've said this before. I don't think that there is another fit for Eminem. If Eminem's getting signed in 1998, 99-ish, there's nowhere else for him to go but Dr. Dre.
It's not true, Mike.
I where
True.
where
He's an MC, Mike.
where to have the success that he had.
Nine dope MCs, Mike. Think about how many MCs that are not as talented as this guy that have landed themselves with various major labels.
White
like
MCs?
There never been a white MC this nice.
Who would have signed them, Coop? Understand the climate, 1998. Let's take ourselves back to
White
1998.
boys don't make unsigned hype in the source. That's what I'm saying. That'll like the fact that he made unsigned hype in the source. Mike was about to get him signed. White boys don't make unsigned hype in the source in the 90s, except that white boy.
Listen, white artists in hip hop, I mean, let's just be real. They have a better sales trajectory when they're attached to black artists. Now, who are you going to attach Eminem to in 1998? You want to sign them to Rough Riders?
So, Mike, I mean, there's
just tell me somebody. Who you gonna sign him to?
I mean, I would probably put him more with the raucous, loud type of fold.
He's not gonna sell no records with them. Not to this level.
Mike, he gonna sell records because he white. Just like Beastie Boys was moving 3, 4, 5 million records off license to ill.
Well, he needed to be produced too. So we got to give Dre credit for that.
Beastie Boys needed to be produced by Rick Rubin.
I agree. But going to loud and raucous, you're not going to get a Hi My Name Is. You're not.
Right. But
so you're going to get some high and mighty type of shit, right?
Hold on. So what I'm trying to tell you is that like Loud signed Raekwon. You feel me? So maybe
we talk about a whole different thing.
No. I'm trying to express a point about the style of music being made.
Okay.
They signed guys like Mos Def, Talib, Raekwon, street music, hip hop shit. So maybe that brings him more into a hip hop fold. So maybe we get something closer to a Mathematics or an Incarcerated Scarfaces than a My Name Is initially.
And it ain't gonna be on TRL. It'll be a whole. I see what you're saying, and it's happened. And what you're saying, there's actual litmus test for it because he was on Sound Bombing. He did make Any Man. I love Any Man. We probably would have heard more of that kind of stuff. But that stuff was not going to move no units, not no Slim Shady Marshall Mathers units.
I would venture to say that if he would have made records like Any Man, he still probably would have sold 1 million or 2.
He wouldn't be who he is. Like, let's be real. The ceiling would have been very... Dr. Dre was the only place to go.
If he's still getting those same placements, Mike, yeah, because, I mean, you keep forgetting, like, some of this stuff he has smashed. Like, Forgot About Dre, he smashed. Did he write The Watcher? Yeah. The Way I Am? Yeah. The Eminem Show? Yeah. The shit on 50's album? Yeah. The shit on Games album? Yeah. Like
Brian says Dr. Dre needed Eminem too. That part you don't say out loud.
Mike, did he wax cannabis in the Rap Olympics? Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. I know he lost the Rhyme Fest in the Rap Olympics. I do want to answer what Brian has to say.
I've heard that battle, Mike. He did not lose to Rhyme Fest. He lost because he was white.
Brian Whittle says Dr. Dre needed Eminem too. He's like, that's the part you don't say out loud. Dr. Dre's been on record on how Eminem is what blew up Aftermath. Yeah, listen, I've been on here and on the same microphone and said in the 2001 album, Chronic 2001, Eminem's the MVP on there. And now Dr. Dre has proven that he's Dr. Dre with or without Eminem. But I will say in that time period, some of them songs that you were mentioning, Coop, Eminem was really big on writing. The Watcher, I think, is brilliant. You know, I think Forgot About Dre is a huge one. He needed those records. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they helped each other. But again, Dr. Dre is Dr. Dre. He was already Dr. Dre with or without Eminem. So Eminem needed Dr. Dre a little bit more. Now, granted, it was a mutual beneficial situation. But if Eminem never even came along, Dr. Dre's still Dr. Dre.
I mean, we're talking about somebody that, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, had sold over 20 million records as a producer before Eminem ever came along.
Before Eminem ever came along, there's a Chronic. There's a Straight Outta Compton. There's a Niggas for Life. There's a Doggy Style. Don't
forget No One Can Do It Better, Mike. No One Can Do It Better by the DOC.
For real.
For real.
And again,
No One Can Do It Better.
In my opinion, man, I think there was a debate online. I think my man Jared did it on one of our private pages. But he was just talking about the fact that most of the West Coast comes from that group NWA and all of that stuff, and everything's kind of spawned from there. I was like, listen, I'll take it a step further. In my personal opinion, I think Dr. Dre is the most powerful person in hip hop, period. And it's not even close. He's clearly the best producer, period. If we sit here and look at the catalog, it's not even close.
Mike, the guy he's doing business with and been tied to might be the most powerful guy.
But he needs Dre. Now we want to talk about people needing people.
Hey, Mike.
He needs Dre.
Hey, Mike, I'm gonna tell you some real shit. You talking about a guy that has an engineer as a young man and worked with John Lennon and Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty. He ain't need Dre to move no numbers.
No. I'm not even talking about Jimmy Iovine needing Dre, period. I'm talking about when it comes to this hip hop shit, though. Because let's just be real.
No, I didn't want to be part of this rap shit. He needed Dre. Well, he needed. Well, actually, Mike, listen. No, Mike, he didn't get close to Dre until he found out who Suge really was. Feel me?
Listen, man, he didn't get Bruce Springsteen to make these things, did he? Shit.
No, but he engineered Born to Run, Mike.
I feel you. That's cool.
That's holy grail type of stuff.
That's great. That's great.
Type of stuff.
That's great.
Petty.
That's great. But what has kept him in the music business?
Mike.
Hip hop has. Dr. Dre has.
No, Mike, Interscope's alternative artists around the same time were moving just as many units outside of anybody outside of it.
I'm not saying that Interscope's not a successful business model outside of hip hop. I'm saying Jimmy Iovine, his partnership with Dr. Dre is something that they make documentaries on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's important. It's the most important partnership of his career. It might not be the most important of his origins, but if we want to talk about moving forward, it's the most important. This Beats thing, that shit is that's like the Jordan brand. That shit's going to outlive them.
Mike, it's not the most important thing, because what I'm trying to say with my sentiment is that when you're in an alternative music field, like Jimmy Iovine was as a young man, and the first two people you work with are John Lennon and Bruce Springsteen, you are officially stamped for life, and that's what enabled him to even step over in here.
I understand what you're saying. Like I said, that's your origins and all of that, but like Jimmy Iovine has said, he didn't want to be an old man sitting there in the studio engineering and all that. You got to take it to that next level. And him being able to take it to that next level as an executive, hip-hop allowed him that ability to do that, and his partnership with Dr. Dre has done that.
Mike, I want you to think about this. One of the most special moments that I've ever seen in music is on that documentary you're talking about, the Defiant ones, where they're sitting in the whip, and Jimmy Iovine plays nothing but a G thing, and he says to Dre, I never heard nothing like that before. I'm thinking this guy has been around some of the greatest musicians who have ever lived his entire life.
Yeah.
And he ain't never heard nothing but a G thing, nothing like it.
Dr. Dre's special, man. I mean, look, again, I've said this episode after episode after episode. When we were covering that Snoop and DMX verses, we were previewing that. I was like, listen, man, those Dre songs come through the speaker different, and they do. And I ain't even just talking about on some hip-hop shit. I ain't even just talking about hip-hop. That's period.
Jimmy Iovine, who has been around classically trained musicians almost his whole life, is saying that shit hit different. That shit is different.
It's very different. One thing I will give Jimmy Iovine incredible credit on, and he does have a hip-hop ear. I don't know how long he's had it or if he developed it just being under Dre. But he does have a musical ear. But what I'm about to say, as far as like 2001, right? The Chronic 2001, that album was done. And they wanted the next episode to be the first single. Jimmy Iovine heard that album and was like, it's missing the first single. And that's how we got Still DRE. I ain't gonna lie, man. I would have listened to that album and been like, yo, we're good. Let's go. Next episode, first single. Let's get it.
That's not his hip-hop aesthetic, Mike. That's the part of him that was around John Lennon and Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty. He knows what that hit sounds like at a high level on Stadium Flow, and he hadn't heard it yet. That's what I'm saying. That goes back to his origins. That's not even hip-hop. That's not his hip-hop ear. That's his ear for music. Like, that's him saying, no, you made nothing but a G thing. It's not there yet.
Well, what? Well, I will say this about Bruce. Bruce has some really big stadium stuff in that light. I could see that
Really
maybe
tasty.
with Bruce, but with Born to Run and Dancing in the Dark and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But what Tom Petty and John Lennon songs would you feel like were just bangers like that to the point where he would develop that type of ear from those experiences? And I'm just asking.
it's the overall musicality and songwriting abilities about those two guys specifically, if you really want to know the truth. So Bruce is the stadium flow.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about all the things that encompass music and musicality in writing, in showmanship, in songs, in response to people, oh, John Lennon and Tom Petty is some of the best shit you're going to find. Doesn't matter what genre you're in. And so he was close to these guys is what I'm saying. And when you spend time around guys like that, that shit rubs off, Mike, like that never enough feeling.
The fact that you hear Forgot About Dre, hear Explosive, hear Next Episode, and still say, you know what, we're missing a song.
Yeah.
And the rest of that album, obviously, because that album is banging.
But you've been around
Period.
some of the biggest music people who ever lived, so you might know what you're talking about.
No, no, definitely, of course. And I think they're a dream team together, and we've seen the success of their partnership and all of that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Jimmy Iovine is Jimmy Iovine. But if we just talk about hip hop artists, people who are of the culture and actually make the music, put out music, rap, sign out, you know what I mean? Dr. Dre's the most powerful individual in hip hop, in my opinion.
No, when you frame it like that, yeah, Mike, because even with my verses list, Mike, for Nas, oh, I picked one Dre record because, oh, Dre shit hit different.
Yeah, man, Dre. I mean, and he's been doing this since the
It ain't
80s.
even one of it ain't even one of the 20. It ain't even one of the 30 best Nas records. But oh, the record, Mike, when it play, when the beat drop, it's like, oh, that shit different.
I mean,
He
when
different.
when you have cultivated artists like a DLC to Snoop Dogg to Eminem to the Game to Kendrick, it's like, and I know he doesn't, I guess, sit here and make the beat for Kendrick, and they don't work in that capacity. But you can hear these Kendrick albums, Good Kid, Mad City specifically, and you can hear the Dre effect.
I mean,
Even
the
if
thing
he's not sitting there on the boards making the beat, you know what I mean?
hey, Mike, my biggest thing about the thing that didn't go right with Nas and with Rakim is that, oh, I know you can produce an album for A1 lyricist because the DLC was the A1 lyricist and still arguably the best lyricist that he ever had his hands on. And no one can do it better. It's a beautiful rap classic that nobody talks about.
I think Dre's only downside when it comes to that, or something that I would say is a knock on Dre, he doesn't work well with artists who are already established in their craft and how they work. That's why he does his best work with new artists. He's into molding in that way of producing. He's a producer in the sense where I'm really going to direct you. Now, somebody like a Rakim who was making classics in '87, if Dre's telling him to do things a certain way, he might not do it. I mean, famously, the whole story is Molly Mall was like, "Yo, you really gonna sit here and be laid back and record like this?" And Rakim didn't change a thing. This is Molly Mall. Molly Mall's the biggest producer in hip hop at this time, so that doesn't work for Dre.
Mike, it was Marley Marl and Shan.
Yeah, and they're sitting here like, "Yo, you really gonna sit back and rap laid back like this?" And he did it. And so, yeah, I think that that's the reason why we never got any work from Dre and Rakim, because nobody was going to bend. And I think that's why Dre has such successes with younger or new artists or newer artists or artists who are ready to take that level of direction. It's a little tougher when you have veterans. And even in situations like the Busta Rhymes Big Bang Theory, he sat there and took the direction, but for me at least, as a Busta Rhymes fan, that album doesn't sound like a Busta Rhymes album. It sounds like a Dre album. You know what I'm saying? So that's what kind of happens too when you have a veteran MC who works with Dre.
So maybe for veteran MCs, they need to maybe go the route that Raekwon did on the Purple Tape 2 and just get a couple bangers off of Dre. Because them couple bangers
He
that
don't want
Ray
to do
got.
that. Dre not about to do that. He want to do your whole album if he gonna do it.
No, but Mike, but when you have proven yourself to be a certain caliber, like Raekwon, no, you can go get a couple joints from Dre. This be cool. Nas can go get a couple joints. Like certain dudes can go get a couple joints. Yeah, you can.
LP
It's proven.
called Dr. Dre Nick Saban. That's a good one. I would say more Coach K-ish. You fit in my system, great. But I'm not gonna get the people who I know are gonna be, go to that next level and just be individuals.
As a Duke fan, you all are talking about old Coach K, not new Coach K.
Well, Coach K had to adjust, but I'm talking about traditional Coach K. You're not gonna win like that now, bro.
Traditional Coach K won 3 rings. New Coach K won 2 rings. That's why he changed. All right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know how we got on that whole tangent, but
Eminem's verse always take us somewhere. I told you I don't like talking about him because it always goes somewhere. I don't know how it